Hello, this is Jonathan Dewey with the Ohio Housing Finance Agency, and today we have special guest Anne Petit with us. Anne is the superintendent of the Ohio Division of Real Estate, and she previously served as the superintendent from 2002 to 2005. So Anne, thank you so much for being here with me today.
Thanks a lot, Jonathan. I appreciate the invitation.
Yep, I just want to talk a little bit about what's going on in the real estate market and get your input, and especially with your expertise. And so I first want to start off with talking about, with the pandemic and the shutdowns and the phase reopening, how this has affected the real estate industry, such as sales, home prices, or anything else that pops into your mind.
Absolutely. If the first thing that I think everyone experienced in the profession is that not only was there client uncertainty, but there was also agent uncertainty. This is brand new, and in 100 years we have not dealt with anything like this, and the need to keep customers safe, clients who had listings pending. There were transactions in progress, Jonathan, that were just stopped in their tracks until not only the real estate agents, but the financial community and other businesses that are parts of that transaction got their heads and their arms around how to keep everybody safe but keep commerce moving. And particularly, this wasn't just a state or a regional situation that we were all dealing with, as you well know, everybody well knows. The fact that it was on a national and global level really impacted our real estate practices. But the one thing I have to say is that real estate professionals are adaptive. They are absolutely adaptive, and they acted in a very proactive and creative way. And that includes our appraisers too, because it's a little bit difficult to go into a property, especially one that's still being lived in, to do an on-site inspection of a home for an appraisal report. So there were a lot of adaptations that needed to happen to keep real estate business moving along. And I think everybody did so in pretty fine fashion.
Yep, I was definitely surprised. It seemed like everything, it paused, in March for maybe 2, 3 weeks, and everybody was like, okay, what are we going to do to figure out what we have to do to make sure that real estate sales are still going through? And then, that transition period, and then it seemed like, okay, the appraisers figured out, the real estate agents, the mortgage lenders all kind of worked together pretty quickly to figure that out and get real estate business going again, and going again in a safe manner.
Yeah, and I absolutely believe that both at the federal and the state level, the fact that real estate services were deemed to be a critical, essential part of commerce and life as we know it, I think that really helped, because to your point, we still, again, as you know, and your viewers know, we are in an inventory depletion area now, and prices are still, perhaps, depending on who you talk to, possibly a little overinflated as far as what people are willing to pay for the home that they identify that they want to buy to fulfill their part of the American dream.
Yep, and there's definitely, I have heard that there's, many houses are receiving multiple offers. They're selling within, one day, and the average market times in many parts of the state, up to a certain price range, or, around 30 days or so, somewhere around there, depending on the market. So the inventory, the supply is just so
Yeah,
low. Now,
absolutely.
how has this affected you and the Division of Real Estate, and how you're conducting business there?
Well, one of the drawbacks to being in a pandemic and being a state agency is that we are under guidelines to not allow any walk-ins. And, we, as the Division of Real Estate and Professional Licensing, typically in a week handle up to and over 300, 350, 400 walk-ins.
Oh, wow.
So it's been difficult. And again, it's been an area where our licensees and applicants have had to adapt and understand that they need to send things to us by U.S. Postal Service, and we won't even go down that road in this conversation. But I've got 85% of my staff teleworking,
Oh, wow.
and I'm down about 10% on staff. So it's been a challenge, and our mission is to keep commerce moving and to serve our stakeholders as promptly as we absolutely can. So, the fact that we've got new communication and tech platforms, in our case, we have to do everything via Microsoft Teams. But that's how we're keeping in touch with everybody. And I have to tell you, my staff, by and large, the productivity is actually up when they're working from home. So, and you've got a family at home. They have school age children, and with all of the upheaval around school, and all of that. So being reliant on the U.S. Postal Service, keeping our staff both at home and our core in-office staff safe and healthy, taking care of each other. It's been a little bit of a challenge, but I couldn't be more proud of the way my team stepped up to the plate.
And I'm hearing that from a lot of different state agencies that they've seen productivity actually go up working from home, and so that's good to hear. And one thing that I noticed too from your agency that was very, very good is when this all started happening at the beginning, your communications that you guys are sending out to the public was very good, and keeping everybody informed, keeping real estate agents informed, appraisers of these are the changes we're making, this is what to expect, and getting out in front of it so the public and everybody was informed.
I thank you. I appreciate that, because we certainly, we're not just a state agency, we're people too. And so we were just as, I don't want to say fearful, but just as concerned, just as desiring of information. And as we all know, information changed about on an hourly basis. So, it was a scary time for a lot of our stakeholders, and we really wanted to make sure that we were pushing out as much information as we had it and could identify areas that might be helpful to our stakeholders.
Now, what differences or similarities are you seeing from different parts of the state, such as smaller cities or larger cities, in relation to individuals getting their real estate license or economic differences, those type of things?
Yeah, Jonathan, has been really interesting, and I did a quick summary of what we have received as far as applications for and newly minted real estate agents in the last 6 months, and brokers too, because people are getting their broker's license as well. But interestingly enough, 84 of our 88 counties have at least 2 or 3 new real estate licensees since March.
Wow.
So yeah, from March 1 to September 1, 84 of the 88 counties have new real estate agents in them. So that's been really interesting. And of course, to your question, the larger, more suburban areas certainly have produced more new licensees. We have seen, even though House Bill 197 was passed to allow our stakeholders and lots of other occupational and licensing professionals to hold off on renewals. We have seen that our appraisers, especially, and real estate agents, especially, are just getting their renewals in on time. They're not even deferring those renewal payments, which they would be allowed to do right now. I think that we're seeing a lot of folks who may have lost their previous employment to COVID circumstances,
Yeah.
seeking to come into a real estate related profession, because, and I put it in the broader terms, because we are seeing an incredible number of folks apply to become appraiser trainees as well. And that's
Okay.
encouraging, because we need more real estate appraisers in Ohio. So that's a very encouraging side effect to see. But I believe that part of the COVID unemployment situation has shown some of those folks that real estate still is a good business to be in. And
And
unfortunately, inventory is still extremely low. So I'm not sure what they're going to be selling. But I think that once we get past the and with the number of cases maybe decreasing, and let's hope that continues. I think we're going to start seeing some people a little bit more willing to entertain putting their current home on the market. What they need to know is that there's some place for them to go, another new home for them to move to. So I
yeah,
think
and
we'll
and
see
it
that.
seems counterintuitive that, as the economy has slowed down a little bit, the real estate market has gotten hotter and home prices have gone up, and but just that supply and demand, lower inventory is going to raise those prices, and then but then also the uncertainty for some people not wanting to, if they were thinking, they're on the fence of thinking of selling their house, and then they're thinking, okay, well, am I going to have to do a double move, to get into that
Mhm.
next house? Am I going to have to rent somewhere for a short period and wait to find that next house? Or, is a buyer willing to allow me to stay in this property for a certain period of time after closing
Right.
so I can find that next house? And so that's kind of uh, caused some of the issues with the inventory too, of people, being a little hesitant to move to that next house.
Absolutely, absolutely, and nobody really wants to spend, a week or two or three in a hotel right now either. At any
Yeah,
point in time, but especially right now, perhaps.
absolutely. And so another question I wanted to ask you was, so somebody's watching this right now and they know somebody that wants to get their real estate license. Can you talk a little bit about the changes to the Division of Real Estate in the last year in terms of your online education and how somebody can get their real estate license through that online education?
Absolutely, Jonathan. So the Real Estate Commission did adopt a recommendation, and we went through the entire legislative process, as you know, and we do now have in law the ability for an applicant to take their 120 hours of qualifying education at any of the institutions of higher education that offer that distance education platform. And I might add that there are over 300 of those institutions of higher education in Ohio that actually have our qualifying education either in a standalone certificate program. So those are just the four courses that you have to take,
Okay.
or using them as building blocks in both associate's and bachelor's degrees. And so
Now,
online's been very, very, very popular since March, very much
that,
so.
that was going to be my question. Have you seen a lot of agents getting their real estate license online now?
Yes, yes, absolutely. So they're able to do that. The one thing the one note that I do want to add is that anybody who wants to obtain a real estate license needs to remember that they're going to have to submit a set of fingerprints for both an FBI and a state criminal history check. And the reason I bring that up is because some people file their application with us and then they forget about that. And so their application can't be moved along until we get all of the necessary elements for a complete application. So I just want to encourage anybody who may be thinking about it, don't forget, drop your application in the mail after you're done with your qualifying education and get to one of the vendors who can do the live scan fingerprints.
Okay, that's really important to know. I think that's good.
Yeah. Well, Jonathan, at this point, I think I've got a question for you.
Okay.
How about that? Both of our state agencies help foster home ownership within the state of Ohio. Can you talk to us a little bit about some of the programs the Ohio Housing Finance Agency offers to help those home buyers achieve home ownership?
Sure. So I'm going to talk about three kind of main items at our agency. And the first is our 5% down payment assistance. So if somebody was looking to purchase a house, they could get 5% towards their down payment and closing costs. And to give you an example, if somebody was purchasing a $100,000 house, they could get $5,000 towards their down payment and closing costs. The other program that we have is our first-time buyer tax credit. So if somebody's a first-time home buyer and they meet our eligibility requirements, they could get a tax credit of up to $2,000 per year for the life of the loan. And the intent of this mortgage tax credit is to help first-time home buyers afford home ownership by putting more of their own money back in their pocket. So it's a really great program, and it can provide a lot of savings over that 30-year mortgage. And then lastly is our interest rate discounts. So if somebody's a recent college graduate or they work in a critical occupation, so nurses, doctors, police officers, firefighters, teachers, and military, they get a interest rate discount when they use an OFA home buyer loan.
And I know that there are, I don't know that I can say quite a few, but I know several of our licensees who work very closely with you on that interest rate reduction, especially for our first responders and doctors.
Oh,
Absolutely.
yeah, definitely. Especially with everything that's going on in the past year, it just highlights even more how important those first responders are. And so it's just one benefit for those that work in those critical occupations.
Absolutely. Great.
All right. Well, thank you so much for talking with me today. And did you have anything else you wanted to add before we ended our conversation?
There is one thing that I'd like to share very, very quickly, and that is that the Ohio Real Estate Commission just approved, right now it's a policy, and it is totally due to our COVID circumstances with our upcoming general election on November 3rd. Any of our active or inactive real estate licensees, salespeople, brokers, who have to do CE, if you volunteer to be a poll worker for the entire day, then we will provide 3 hours of core law CE for that person. So we just want to be part of the solution, and our real estate professionals are such community leaders anyhow. We just thought that was a really great fit, and I'm a former elections official, so
Okay.
still near and dear to my heart. Thank you again for the invitation today, Jonathan. It's always a pleasure to talk with you about home ownership, and especially all of the great programs that OFA offers.
Absolutely. And if you want any more information about our agencies, the link for the Division of Real Estate and the Ohio Housing Finance Agency will be located below this video, and will also be located in the email description.